because they just crashed my computer again. David Icke has no problem. David Icke has no problem with this stuff. I have a problem with this stuff. Here's my reply to this fuck, Christopher. I hope they shoot Icke right in the fucking femur can. My only admiration for Icke is he has always been a money-grubbing piece of shit who has kept honest that he is a raving lunatic. Never deviated. Testimony to the Tavistock Institute's insatiable appetite for how far they can manipulate the lumpen proletariat to believe the Earth is flat and we actually don't exist in this vibrating, holographic, magic mushroom, LSD, ayahuasca, DMT universe. Therefore, sit back, enjoy the ride. It's a spectator sport, and the cost for the Icke Lizard Show is $50 a seat. David Icke is the problem. Tell me when David Icke made the point of telling his vast audience that the 5G he goes on about is an Israeli product. When has Icke got out to his huge audience the emerging UN Habitat program, Smart City, Internet of Things nightmare is entirely Israeli-based. Self-driving cars, cybersecurity, the entire planet is in the hands of the Russian, Jewish, Soviet gangster paradise called Israel, and Icke cannot even string a simple narrative together to explain it to his audience, let alone the self-evident collusion between Israel, Russia, China, and even Iran in the giant Belt and Road project, which is shaping the narrative in the Middle East, but Icke is not going to tell you that. He has books on the holographic flat earth lizard-run universe to sell. Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, and Benjamin Milikowski / Netanyahu love David Icke. While others are broke, marginalised, limited in ways to get money, have truly suffered, had their careers ruined, bones broken, while that cunt wanders the earth, flying business class or first class, making a fortune, packing 5,000 retards into the large venues at $550 a head. Are you fucking serious? You're actually excited, acting politically, but look at you and your friends. Running, let's get Icke up. Let's get Icke up. Let's get a picture of him up on this while I read. Alright, there is all the attention in the world. You're actually excited, acting politically, but look at you and your friends, running with excited political expectation. Let's save David Icke's bank account. But not a single one of you and your retarded, mind-controlled, vile little fucking idiots, I put the fucking in, and scourge of the Magna Carta and US Constitution would ever in your wildest dreams consider lobbying politically to expose directly the emerging domination of the entire planet's critical infrastructure network by a vile, racist, homicidal, murderous and religiously and politically psychotic state entity started by Russian and Ukrainian Bolshevik gangsters all those years ago, and run by vile Russian Jewish gangsters to this day. Benjamin Netanyahu and Israeli cyber domination, including space, moves forward as the lemming-brain-dead alt movement runs in excited and breathless expectation of saving the pop music evangelical lizard man David Icke and his ability to fly business and first class around the planet, preaching to the clinically desperate brain-dead. In former times, like the 1970s and 80s, Icke would have been seen for what he so plainly is, an intelligence agency operation, Soviet-era active measures, a friend of Putin, Netanyahu and Xi Jinping. He came from the great British intelligence retirement farm and recruitment ground, the BBC. Clearly Rothschild and the Tavistock Institute, Royal Institute for International Affairs, and a bunch of mischievous Russian Jews named Moshe and Shlomo had bets that they could promote a functional, bipolar, unstable personality type into a successful alt-media personality via the theory that shapeshifting lizards run the world. Someone won that bet. I bet it was Moshe and Shlomo, the same ones that started Flat Earth as the foundation for their master's level thesis on proving the Goy are congenitally brain-dead. Your email would normally go straight into spam and you would be forever condemned to the spam nether regions, but to hear you and your ilk breathlessly pursue a political agenda to save a wealthy and successful lizard-promoting self-evident fake piece of shit is too much. Icke is a psychopath, literally. Never laughs at himself, no concept of self-irony, lives in his own little psychopath world, keeps relentlessly pushing forward with his narrative with no thought to its larger ramifications and effects on the body politic. Or maybe he doesn't know, and that's the point. Maybe one day I will receive that email from just one human somewhere on this planet. That person will have a banner, flyer and webpage with, quote, "The racist state of Israel stole my technology job and undermines US security." Anyway, he can be down by Stanford, down by Fort Bragg, out the front of the ADL in New York. In fact, any university would do. One side of the flyer has Secretary of Defense Mattis's statements, Russia and China are an enemy of the United States. On the other side of the flyer is Bibi shaking hands. With Xi Jinping, and the title, "In Beijing, Netanyahu looks to marry Israel's technology with China's capacity." And I'm sorry, my computer is doing very strange things, even though it's not hooked to the net. Sometimes I wonder whether my phone is connected to the micro wireless chip.
I got this record at a flea market in Woodstock, New York, back in '94. It's the Allman Brothers Band. Let's get fucking funky! Wayne, man, did you burn my mozzarella sticks? Hey, where's your Toms of Maine section? Trey is mathematics on the guitar. Do you guys sell zip-off pants? Yo, Lexi, man, I can't find my iguana. I'm bursting with creativity. Hook me up with that disc, Lauren. Yo, Bruce, man, hit me with that disc. Yo, Bruce, hit me with that disc. I was waiting in line at Bonnaroo, man. Hit me with the disc, I'll tell you the story. Do you have kids' corduroys? Chloe, your couscous is ready. Where are my pickles? Darren, can you please not kick my seat? You better watch what comes out of your mouth, Wayne. Excuse me? I fished out on nitrous. Have you listened to David Crosby's solo records? I don't think I have enough money. Sorry about all that. Somebody made pesto. It was me. They found my steamroller, then they found my double bubble. Oh shit. Oh mau mau. Oh mau mau. Damn it. Birthday yours, are you guys?
Two guys, one Vespa.
I'm literally having Alzheimer's. What was the point again?
We were talking about Jesus Christ.
One problem. Here's the thing. Where's the problem with no teleprompter? I literally tell you what's in my brain. This is like my truth. Doesn't mean I'm accurate. It doesn't mean I'm perfect. It means I'm telling you what I really thought. Oh, I know what it is.
Fucking around.
I know what it is. No one's watching mainstream news.
No one's watching.
Because it's energy, information, consciousness, and not solid, physical. It means that things like cellular become explainable. Because when I talk about this hybrid, they're actually hybrid information things. And when I'm looking at you now, I am decoding your waveform field, and you as I'm seeing, in the form that I'm seeing, exist here, right? Now, if you were a hybrid, one of these hybrids, you could shift that other part of the field, so that becomes the dominant. Now as the observer, I'm decoding that. So here, you would be something that's not human. To my experience, you have physically, solidity, moved from one body to another. But no, the only place the shift goes on physically is in the decoding process by the observer. And you know, one of the things that they've talked about for years, some scientists have, but now it's becoming more and more accepted, is that this world, as we perceive, only exists when it's observed. Because what they found is interesting, that when something is observed, then you have the waveform collapse into a particle. Now, I would go one step further and say it's not. This world doesn't exist as we see it when it's observed. But when it's decoded, and the act of observation, the act of focus triggers decoding that world. So this world, as we can see, literally only exists in the form that we see it when we decode it.
Fucking Jews deserve to win. They deserve to win. They put it on the line. They went out there, they fought, and they fucking won. Fuck the guy.
Earth is seen as like an egg yolk to give the propulsion power for this new thing that's going to be born. And whether you believe it or not, just like when the new thing, the artificial intelligence, beyond that. It's beyond that. Artificial intelligence and a whole synthesis of new life forms. And so that's the big giant race when Elon Musk came in and told you. He goes these billionaire functions, he has a conscience, he's freaked out. And he goes these billionaire functions, I don't just know this, I've talked to people, and I was in Wired Magazine 20-something years ago while the future doesn't exist, Bill Joy, a billionaire, co-owner of Sun Microsystems. He goes to a billionaire meeting with 200 guys, and the consensus was, we're not going to play video games and party all day. We're going to set up a world government. We're going to slowly titrate the dose and poison the public, dumb them down, put electromagnetic radiation out with 5G that scrambles their DNA, lowers their IQ. We're going to cause mass mental illness and a controlled societal collapse that will then be organized and controlled in the mop-up crew by robots, controlled by the globalist programmers who believe with the off-world entities they're in communication with that they're going to be given the operation to upload and be in that larger kind of board cube system. Okay, here they sell the country. You gotta hit the brakes. We take this back to it. I'm so baffled. What's the matter? I can't one of these things. MIT Technology Review estimates that about 20 pregnancies of pig, human, or sheep. Hi there. Welcome to Conscious Reminder Channel. any of these 10 characteristics, you are one of the 144,000 prophesized light workers to save the world. Light workers are beacons of light in a world full of dark. People are attracted to them because of the way light emanates from them. There is one prediction that can be found both in the Book of Revelations and the Emerald Tablets forecasting something really exciting. It says that there will be an incarnation of 144,000 light workers who will save Earth from the forces of darkness during the end times of the Kali Yuga. The most interesting part about this prediction is the realization that most of these light workers are now here and in the process of waking up to their divine purpose and mission on Earth. Majority of them might not even know or remember who they really are. According to spiritual teachers and psychics, the cellular memories of the 144,000 were programmed, timed, and triggered to go off at this time and awaken them to their true identity, mission, and purpose for incarnating on Earth at this most crucial time in Earth's history. What does saving the world means? The term saving the planet carries a wrong connotation, and that's why most people don't understand what we really mean. It's not literally about the planet Earth. The Earth is fine with or without us. There's not going to be an epic fight between the dark and the light. At least not here in the physical realm. We need saving as species. There is something rotten deep in our collective psyche and we need to deal with it. The so-called forces of darkness are simply the projection of the shadow we need to face deep in ourselves. Light workers are people who heal on many levels. They heal mentally, physically, emotionally, and even spiritually. They do this through their work and their energy if they learn to control and manage it. That's why they are the ones who will save the world from the forces of darkness, because they will help us heal the shadows of humanity. And the number is just a sacred quantity that, if reached, creates a powerful wave that cannot be stopped. It creates a wave that will wash the whole world from its negative behavior that's retarding our true potential of love. It's like when you try to stop fire from spreading. If you extinguish a certain amount of that fire, the rest will simply extinguish by itself. Are you one of the 144,000 light workers that will save the world? There are 10 common traits among fellow light workers. All of them experience most of these in the process of their awakening. If you experience any of these characteristics, you are one of the 144,000 prophesized light workers that will save the world. You are always identifying with heroic characters and superheroes. And you still do, even if you are an adult now. You have a deep purpose that not a lot of people know about. You might not be sure yourself, but you just know you are meant for something bigger. You have an inner understanding about spiritual concepts, higher knowledge, and cosmic wisdom that feels natural to you. You love people, but you hate them at the same time. And this is so confusing to you. It's like you unconditionally love who they are at their core, but you hate all the junk that's preventing them to shine, like their ego, addictions, stupid decisions, and negativity. You might have panic attacks and anxiety problems. You love animals, and you feel deeply for the harm we do to them to satisfy our own needs. You can't stand injustice. You always try to lighten up the mood. If something is tense, you tell a joke. If someone is down, you do your best to cheer them up. If someone is asking for your help, you might go out of your own way just to help them. You tend to inspire others, even if you are unaware of this. You love to merge dualities into oneness, like science and spirituality, psychology and philosophy, technology and nature. The time for awakening is now. We have reached and entered the 11th hour of the great change that is taking place on Earth. The time has come for the remaining light workers to awaken so we can get to the prophesized number of 144,000. You need to wipe the sleeping slumbers of half-life from your eyes, smack your forehead to dislodge the dream of materialism, wake up and smell the coffee, roll up your sleeves, put on your thinking caps, and be about the Himalayan task of saving this world. You have something to offer this world, and deep down you know what that is. Stop following norms and trends. Do what you know we're meant to do. And if you are still not sure of what that is, just do what feels good and natural to you. Do what makes you feel alive. Do what really has meaning for you. Or simply live through your heart. Resonate with love. That's all we really need to heal humanity.
This is the future. This is where the people are. Real things, not scripted, no teleprompters. There's no teleprompters here. This is real. And so they get up on television.
So anyway, one day maybe that will be a title on someone's flyer, and that visual. There's Bibi shaking hands with the Chinese diplomat. In Beijing, Netanyahu looks to marry Israel's technology with China. You reckon David Icke's ever going to talk about that and the urgency of the situation? But nah, none of you fucking useless maggot clowns could possibly think to do this, could you? Not with David Icke's first-class airline ticket GoFundMe to get going. Mentally ill people feel no shame, no doubt, no conscience. You follow the crowd. You are a walking example of what the Tavistock Institute has been saying from day dot. The masses are dangerous, easily manipulated. Even when you tell them they are being manipulated, even with the most ridiculous lies, they cannot get enough of it. They need to be medicated, sterilized, and placed in a smart city where they can be cared for until they die at age 50. Whenever one of the managerial class doubt the necessity for a mass culling of the planet's population, they'll drag out you, David Icke, Earth, Flat Earth, fucktards, as sure evidence of why a cull needs to take place. Not everything is possible. The 3D universe is not limitless. There are not infinite possibilities. Not everyone can be rich. The holographic vibrational universe has its own reality, gravity for one, and the Australian Foreign Office Visa Department for another. There are boundaries everywhere, including the borders of the state entity known as Australia. This should not worry you or David Icke, as the vibrational holographic universe run by shape-shifting lizards is a temporary illusion. Remember? Don't you read Ike's trashy, penny dreadful books? Just keep pumping the magic mushy crypto convention, LSD, ayahuasca, DMT, Soviet-era active measures program down your vile fucking gullet and get me the fuck off your email fucking list, ... cunt. All of you, I don't care who you are. I want one motherfucking person out of the 7 billion people on the fucking planet. And you mean to tell me not one fucking person, not fucking one, can manage to do this? And has Adam Green or Joe Morphosis, that fuckwit from the Sergeant Report, Alex Jones, has one of them encouraged you to do this? One! No, they don't fucking encourage you because they don't want it done because they're all fucking controlled. Fuck! My neighbors can fucking hear me. This is not a fucking act. I have bled and had my bones broken, my life taken from me. 10 years of misery. And you useless motherfucking cunts can't even leave your fucking house. You weak. Fucking pathetic.
Okay,
and notice the media never attacks you for that because that's the truth.
Maybe this is true. I do not know this. And
we'll get into it.
Okay, I do not know this. And even these human-pig hybrids, Jamie just pulled this out. I believe it's true.
I mean, I'm worried about human-pig hybrids. I'm sorry the Sandy Hook kids died. My identity is not that.
I get it.
They admit 5G in all the studies, LA Times, causes massive mutation and cancer.
Wait a minute,
and literally rattles your DNA apart. All of our kids are under attack.
You mean 5G?
And I'm mad at Trump for allowing 5G to come in.
This is the new internet.
You know why they won't let China put in?
You're smart guy. Listen, you got mad. You know all this stuff I know. You're the better saying it. And you said that you can't handle it. And you said that I don't handle it. It's not that I can't handle it. There's 2 factors. One, I don't have any time. I don't have enough time to go into it as much as you do. That's why every time I got mad at you, that's it right there. Every time I bring up a fucking subject, you know all about it. I don't know all about it. You fucking know all about this shit. I don't know all about this shit. You're a smart guy. You're a smart guy. Joe just is a pot. Bullshit. You know exactly what you're. I don't think you're a bad guy. You're trying to survive for you and your family, and you're good. Okay, but you're my family, your family. None of us are gonna make it. There's a post-human era coming. The breakaway civilization. The deal's been made. It's not the 3rd dimension. They've made freaking deals with interdimensional aliens.
Oppo, you know 5G and major. That's the big Chinese.
You are on
5G.
fire today.
No. Joe, the 5G.
You're on fire.
Okay.
Okay. 5G.
Remember how? About human animal hybrids with pigs and cows? Yes. You gotta make you part cow so the cow keeps you another rejected. Or part pig. Okay. Let me explain. You know about pigs and rats were most closely related to chimpanzees. That's why all the organs are rejected. Okay. You know about that? Yes. Okay. So pigs are very close to humans. Even use pig organs and pieces.
Usually you know everything. Show. No, it's true. I mean, you know, in a general knowledge, you know everything I know.
No, I don't. Listen,
let me tell you, Joe, this is literally, we know what they're doing. So just like they say,
wavelengths to calm the public during crisis. I just had Megatron when Pat was talking about that. What Megatron explains is, it's not that the microwaves have somehow interfaced with the brain. We already interface with the space winds, all these other magnetic fields, everything else. So they're all just testing this stuff. And so everything they deploy, all these other technologies. My dad was at UT in 65 when he was in high school. They had CD-ROMs, computers, everything. But the nuclear reactor underneath the building, you weren't supposed to tell them. Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm telling you. It's a breakaway civilization, dude. We don't know what they got. We don't know the whole thing. That's what I'm telling you is this is hiding in plain view.
That look like trees already testing at neighborhoods.
Okay, they do that now, right?
So you're saying the cell phone tracks you and watches you and controls you and surveils you. And you think that it's one way. But beyond that, it's a microwave relay system that can manipulate. And then the towers are even more powerful. So this is a device given to us by the gods. Okay, given to us by the technology that the breakaway government, NASA, has developed that you don't just think they made up themselves, right?
What do you mean? Who do you think made it up?
Well, when you're ready to get to it, I want listeners to understand something. And notice the media is not going to cover this.
The media is not?
Well, no, they'll cover that was on the show. They're not going to cover this.
The media, okay.
Because this is not my opinion. This is the real research that I have heard, that I have talked to Army generals, commanding generals, major generals, generals, CIA, everybody. And they're all 100%. And I thought it was a psyop before, and then I've researched and I've talked to hundreds of people now, not on air, but I'm going to make a film on this, who've taken ayahuasca and DMT. I've not taken it, and for obvious reasons. And it's unbelievable because, I mean, they 100% in San Francisco.
It's the main project site. Literally have an alien base, and they are literally communicating. And they got like astronaut-level people taking super hardcore levels of drugs and going into meetings with these things and making intergalactic deals. And again, that's what the government believes and says they're doing. When you say the government, it's a broad stroke. You're using a broad brush. What do you mean by the breakaway rogue intelligence agents? Okay, so what you're saying is essentially that they're using psychedelic drugs to communicate with interdimensional beings. Right. That's spirit guides. Okay, everyone who's done a high dose of psychedelic drugs has had this experience. So everyone who's listening to you right now who's done DMT or done 5 grams of psilocybin, they know that this is you have some kind of communication with something else. The question is that something else inside your psyche, or is that something else a chemical doorway? Is there a chemical doorway inside the mind that opens up, and the belief is that when you die, and this is what the afterlife is, that when you die, your brain produces these chemicals open up this doorway, and this is the portal to the next dimension. So you're saying that the government is aware of this, they must be aware of this, they've heard enough people talk about it, they must have done experiments on it. What is unbelievably, I want to know this for sure. And people that have the courage to experiment with these things and try them themselves realize this is such a profound experience that it's so alien that if an alien landed right now in our parking lot and a little gray man with big black eyes got out, it would be nothing compared to what I've seen on psychedelic trips. So let me just tell you, me getting into this show is just because so people understand that I've known about this for a long time, and I just don't think people are ready for it. But a lot of folks who have low oxygen and undeveloped brains, well, who have sleep apnea, big necks, big heads, tons of brain. But you know me, you have 62% oxygen. That's another time that the brain releases DMT. So my whole life, since I was about, my first memories were every night was a DMT trip.
So I basically, I don't just sound arrogant, it's not, I've seen everything.
When you have ancient cultures all over the world who are describing non-human entities in the unseen, which is almost what isn't unseen to the humans in the way that I've just described. Many taking a reptilian form, and that has passed through the ages. And then you meet people in places like America, because once you start talking about this, you become someone that people will give information to because they can see a way of getting out.
Well, I believe that when you're dreaming, it's most likely the same chemicals that are being released.
And, well, a key point, when you go into the REM sleep, it opens the gate, which scientists have proven your brain is working in the 4th, 5th, 6th dimension. And if you can work into those dimensions, you can see beyond it. So what I'm trying to tell you is this. I know you already know all this, Joe. But for your audience, here's what's happening. I'm not saying you're bad. I never said you were in the CIA. I say the CIA is on record with Timothy Leary and everybody promoting hallucinogens in the 60s. They admitted that it was a plan to try to see what it would do in the public to make them more suggestible. But there's a larger program, and then they kind of backed off because it kind of got out of control and actually created some people that were actually fighting them. So it didn't have the effect they wanted. So then they moved on to the ayahuasca and the DMT that they promoted, which good, strong people that have a compass don't have problems with, but weak-minded, stupid people and others. Here's an example. This guy's smart. Eric Mancow Muller, syndicated radio host. I've known him like 15 years.
You just lost me.
Well, I'm going to tell you the story.
You said he's smart.
He's a nice guy.
No, I'm just kidding.
He's a smart guy. Don't be mean.
I've been on his show before.
Yeah, he likes you.
I like him too. I'm just fucking around.
Everybody's on this quest. And I told you I've talked to like 100 people. I've talked to more. There's a lot of people are going and doing these DMT and ayahuasca trips outside Austin. They're doing them all over the place.
Yes.
On my show, he told me the same story everybody tells you in Costa Rica. He went to 2 trips down there. And he said, we're sitting there and we checked ayahuasca and then all these basically aliens come out of the woods and we're all seeing the same aliens, we're all hearing the same thing, and it's like 43 of us or whatever seeing it. He goes, but it was the drugs affecting my brains. No, a drug, everyone sees something different. When you open a gate, and now interdimensionally, your brain's already filtering out those stuff because you can't handle it. Your eyes are already seeing like a cat looks like seeing something or a dog. Well, when they first identified, there's certain components to ayahuasca, and one of them is harmony. And when they first identified it, they tried to call it telepathy.
Yes. The reason why they call it telepathy is because when they were taking ayahuasca, they were having these group experiences that were undeniable. They were experiencing like very vividly the same things. And
so the government's obviously obsessed with this and isn't worried about.
But here's the problem. That term, the government. Are you talking about the post office?
No. I'm not talking about police officers down the street.
You're talking about the firemen?
Or the fire department.
Right.
I'm talking about the real ruling technotronic.
Right, but who are these people? But I think the government is a shitty term.
I know who they are.
Okay, but that term, the problem with that term is it lumps you into like, you know that Mel Gibson movie, Conspiracy Theory, where a wacky dude was driving a cab and believed in fucking tinfoil hat type shit?
Because he'd been tortured.
Yes, exactly.
He'd been compartmentalized.
Yeah.
Hi. Well, it's me. And I see that these Satan worshippers are starting to dissect the stuff I've said about Torah, and they're trying to hoodwink and bamboozle everybody into thinking that Torah is from Satan, and it is not. And these people are the worst of the worst. They are actually Satanists. They worship Satan, and they hope for the desecration of Torah. They say that Judaism is Masonic, but it is not. And they are actually holding up a mirror and not seeing themselves and trying to shine it on me. But you know what? It's not going to work anymore. It's not going to work anymore. This truth will pierce this satanic veil that you wove. And it's over. Babylon is gone. Enjoy your week.
think they're crazy. And they're telling you the same. You know, people who've been in mind control projects, people who've been in government projects, who've interacted with these entities in underground bases. And they're describing what the ancients described. When you've got this man who unfortunately just died in his 90s, William Tompkins, writing a book in 2015, describing how he was seconded in 1942 into a top secret naval intelligence operation in America based at the naval base in San Diego, where his role, or the role of that organization, was to interact with non-human entities. And he produces documents, he produces pictures of people he was with to support what he claims. And he's saying world governments are controlled by a reptilian, non-human race. I've been saying that since the 90s. And let's look at how it works. First of all, these entities operate in the unseen, overwhelmingly in the unseen. Because we, like I said earlier, live in a frequency band, a band of frequency. Anything beyond that frequency we can't see, we're not aware of. And, you know, people have no trouble accepting that the old analog system of radio and television stations are different frequencies sharing the same space without interfering with each other unless they're really close on the dial.
I'm on record 20 years ago, before anybody else was talking about the clockwork elves, and now the globalists think they're in touch with these entities and things, only because, and I don't want to get, I'm not in the CIA. The CIA is bigger than Coca-Cola. It's like bigger than Walmart. I've never been in an intelligence agency. I've never been a part of any of this stuff. But I had family that was in advanced DARPA research projects that I don't know all the details about. And when I was a kid, my dad told me about some of it, not knowing I'd be a talk show host later. But like when the deputy director of the CIA needed to have the tooth pulled, he came to my dad. Okay. So my dad was like the doctor to, you know, these guys. And I remember sitting around the kitchen table and I'm like 7. He's like, Carol, I can't tell you all about it, but it's a classified program in Maryland in an underground base. And they won't give me all the details, but it's double the money I'm making now. This is for national security. But I think it's basically, you know, we're building cyborgs, and we've got special forces that have volunteered so we can infiltrate the Russians and get codes and systems in. I believe it's implanting messages in their teeth, and I also think, as I do implants, I think it's a brain surgery program for microchips.
You know, the analog system, BBC One and ITV and CNN, they're sharing the same space. They're just on different frequencies, and the television picks up different frequencies as you change the channel. Well, in the same way, worlds or realities, it's a better term, are sharing the same space without interfering with each other unless they're very close on the dial. And at that point where they're close on the dial, and there is some form of interaction, that's what we call ghosts and paranormal activity. And so these, not just reptilian, but other non-human entities.
And so I'm hearing it, and my feels like, David, I'm sick of these people, and you've already done so much for the government, and look what they've already done to you, and my brother, you're not going to be, you know, I want you out of this. So this is like, 7 years old, and you're hearing about the cyborgs, okay? So that's the kind of stuff that I grew up seeing. And, you know, oh, let's go get your uncle, he's coming off a C-130, you know, army thing, an army uniform from Guatemala. You know, there's like armed guys and machine guns, I mean, I don't know, okay?
Are operating just outside of the human sight. And they have to have vehicles within our frequency band, within our world, that represent their interests, that are basically vehicles for them to manipulate our society. And so particular bloodlines were created that are hybrids, part reptilian, not always reptilian, but part reptilian, part human.
And I don't need to know. Okay, the point is that's where I grew up, you know, the type of stuff I saw. And my dad never told me about all this stuff when I was older till it was like 12 years ago. I was finishing in-game blueprint for global enslavement. It's free, still online. And it's all about the world government and how the cell phone's watching you and everything's free. Everything's free. It didn't come true, it was already true. And the plan for one world government, don't have kids and all that. Attack the family. And we were going to a ballet recital for like my 3-year-old daughter. She's like 14 now. And they sit down for like an hour and watch the end of the film, 3-hour film. And my mom goes,
David, that's not true. He goes, yes, it's all true. When I was in junior in high school, they recruited me into the program there, and they brought us in. They said the Nazis were wrong because they were only targeting certain groups. We're going to target everybody, and it's a planetary breakaway and world government and blah, blah, blah. There's a nuclear reactor under UT and all this other stuff, which later I went to research is actually true. It's not even hidden. But the point is, it's not that my dad was even that special. My dad was like, scored like the 6th smartest in Texas.
Which is the origin of the royal aristocratic bloodline, whole order of the ages. You know, the ancient Chinese emperors used to claim the right to be emperor because of their descendants from the serpent gods. And the reason that these royal bloodlines and aristocratic bloodlines have incessantly, obsessively interbred because they're holding this hybrid genetic program.
And they had a group of less than 10 kids, and they brought them in as juniors in high school and said, we're going to do all this. Like, they recruited them because they all wanted to be in NASA. That's why I'm wearing the NASA shirt. So when Eddie gets in here, because Eddie's right, NASA's a big secret group. It's the other side of the breakaway government. There's the CIA breakaway government in 1947, and there's Kennedy setting up NASA in 1961. So they're two different competing breakaway governments, and those are the real governments in the U.S.
When you say by breakaway governments, what do you mean?
and for a long time, they ruled because they were a special bloodline. What is it? Just down the road from us, now in London, we have a head of state, even today, who is head of state because of her bloodline. The Queen, if she was a different bloodline, she might be cleaning the throne, not sitting on it. This is the nonsense of it. But why are you Queen? Because someone had sex with someone and that person was born first, therefore they're the monarch. Sorry, I thought we lived in a civilized society with some form of intelligence. What's going on? But across much of the world, as humanity started to awaken a bit more from its civility to these royal bloodlines, they couldn't sustain it any longer. And so the royal in-your-face control started to disperse. It's spread around some areas like monarchy and here, Commonwealth countries, lots of countries disappeared. But these bloodlines, and their sense of being special and being quite royal never ended either.
Breakaway governments, breakaway civilizations, it's the real groups that are like the cult. You say, who are they? They're scientist cults who are based on your psychic ability, and on your IQ, and then on your commitment to the program. And so the program starts with, will you go inject black people with syphilis for a greater cause? Or will you do research programs on babies where we tell poor women that, your baby died right when they were born, we're going to go keep the baby alive and sometimes kill them, sometimes harvest them, sometimes do experiments on them. So that's why a lot of nurses have noticed now that the babies disappear at birth. They tell them, your baby died. That's why the governor said, who's actually an organ harvesting doctor, he goes, we keep the babies alive after they're born and have a discussion. They are getting caught now because we've decompartmentalized.
Wait a minute.
And so they moved into the dark suit professions, banking, politics, of all the dark suit professions, government administration, etc. And they've gone on running the show ever since, while not being overtly royal. And of course, what happened with the so-called Great British Empire and these other European empires is these bloodlines went all over the world, and they imposed themselves in the North America, in South America, in Australia, all over the world. And
they went out there, they fought, and they fucking won. Fuck the goy.
I'm confused at what you're saying.
See how it just never ends.
Yeah, what are you saying about babies? Like, what are they doing with babies?
You saw the governor of Virginia say, we keep babies alive after they're born and kill them, right?
Well, I didn't see that.
We keep them comfortable.
But I am very, very concerned with late-term abortions.
This is post-birth, Joe. So understand,
post-birth.
How much money do you think they get for a 7.5-pound baby they can keep alive for 2 weeks?
Gone on controlling ever since. But when you look at the situation from just a general population perspective, everything seems to be unconnected. People seem to be unconnected. But when you go deep into the shadows, they're not unconnected.
Yeah, you know how they engineer tomatoes to last on the shelf?
Yes.
You can pull all this up, California's passed it. Virginia's about to pass it. New York's trying to pass it. California's trying to pass it. 3 other states trying to pass it to keep babies alive and allow. Notice the governor goes, we don't want the government involved. The doctors and the mother who's drugged up, you say that, are going to decide about the future. And maybe she keep baby alive a week. Maybe she decided to get rid of baby. Wait a minute, is this a viable baby? There's nothing wrong with this baby? Viable? The Senate voted 3 days ago on Monday to not pass a bill for post-birth abortion, to not kill post-birth. It says viable babies already born can be killed. Give the Bible report. I bet you 10 million. Pull it up, Jamie. We're going to figure it out. Because other voices don't believe it. We can look around and post about this, but it says that it's been taken out of context. What is it, Meanie Matters? No, Snopes. Huffington posted that. Snopes is mostly false. Snopes said. Hey, why don't you do this, Jamie? Jamie, go to the source of the governor. Go to YouTube and type in Governor of Virginia talks about post-birth abortion. Watch the unedited 3 minute video. How do you call it abortion if it's already been born?
And mama doesn't know.
So, if they can register the organs and get bidders, wait a minute, then they can make 500,000. But you're saying that the baby, they kill on the spot, only gets 50 grand. But you're saying that they take the baby from the mother and the mother doesn't know that the baby's alive?
It was funny.
Joe, the only time I feel fear.
Remember we were wearing fucking George Bush and George Bush Senior mask dancing around the Capitol? It's fun times,
Belly
man.
the Beast.
Belly the Beast. And with the song that you wrote, you had that fucking song about it?
Jamie, this isn't a joke. I will give $1 million.
You don't have to give any money, but I believe you. I have skin in the game. I can pull it on my phone. I believe you. I mean, he's going to find it. We'll listen to it. You don't have to. We're listening to it. And then he uses these arguments. He goes, well, sometimes the baby is deformed. No, they want the organs. And so you saw the Planned Parenthood videos like Texas and California 2 years ago, the Project Veritas first guy, where they're saying, I'm getting a yellow Ferrari. Man, I'm making hundreds of thousands off each baby. With partial birth, they keep the baby alive. They take it in the back. And then they have a van pull up that takes it to a Chinese government-run facility in the U.S. And they got the sucker. Let's listen to this video. After birth, the boy. Is this it, Jim? Is this it, Alex? Yeah. Okay. Yesterday, when Fairfax County dealt with Kathy Tran, made her case for lifting restrictions.
And they're saying, we're keeping babies alive and they get put in a van and drive away. What's going on? They're like, well, we didn't keep them comfortable. So the baby's worth $500,000.
Who's paying that?
In the chain of delivery, just on time delivery. I mean, each organ's worth a lot of money. And so, but if
let me get the story right. The press claim that you claim to be the Son of God. Is that true?
Yes, you see, the thing is that it's quite funny, really. You know, 2,000 years ago, had a guy called Jesus sat here and said these same things, you would still be laughing. It's really funny that we've not really moved on that much. The negativity, the thoughts that I'm talking about that are very destructive, are pouring out of this planet.
Well, let me
every
interrupt
day.
you. Was it a great shock for you to discover this at 38?
Well, I think the word is gobsmacked. But again, you know, the best way of removing negativity is to laugh and be joyous. So I'm delighted that there's so much laughter in the audience tonight.
But no,
but just let me say this.
They're laughing at you. They're not laughing with you.
Fine.
So see, if they can keep them alive, and now they've built these new wings. They've built new wings. No, I can pull up and pull up. They have wings where they go, oh, we consider the baby dead. The mother decided it didn't live. If she decides we resuscitate and it lives, but it didn't resuscitate, it's flesh, it's a legalese. It's passed into a special ward with doctors that make a few million a year. And the little flesh ball is kept alive and comfortable until all the orders come in, the planes land, and they take the organs, then they take the blood, and they take the skin, Joe. You see how it works? Now you know
you're freaking
why.
me out with his voice.
No, but see, it's a southern loving voice.
Oh.
You see, my dad knew organ harvesters in Dallas, and he said, don't sign your organ donor card. They've got corrupt hospitals where if you're totally viable, they take your organs.
Oh, Jesus
And
Christ.
then I said, Dad, you're crazy, but I didn't sign the organ donor card. And then my dad owned a hospital, too, in Dallas.
And there is no other that can provide that for yourself other than you. That you live in a world of polarity.
The Zulu people say, ulwazi luvela olwandle. The knowledge comes from the sea. Our people believe that many centuries ago, a race of intelligent creatures of various kinds chaperoned the human race into this world in which we are in exile. And members of this race went into the sea to become what we today call dolphins, amahlengetho. Over the centuries, dolphins and whales sent knowledge via dreams to human beings. The whales told us all about God. The dolphins told us all about wisdom and art and other forms of positive creativity. We black people believe that these dolphins are not fishes. They are amahlengetho, the saviors. They are people. They have a kingdom under the sea. They have stories that they tell to their children. And they have hopes for the future. We say that they came with their great emperor Wowane from the star called Sirius by the white people many, many millennia ago. These stones in ancient Greece, in ancient Africa, and in other parts of the world were originally used for focusing human thought and for looking into the future. This is what I am doing now. I am trying to visualize the eye of a dolphin and to call it here using this most ancient of objects.
What is the ultimate truth? What is the ultimate answer to these things? Only you can choose it. But it is.
Wowane selected Vundu, his biggest dolphin. Vundu was entrusted with a tablet made of gold. The tablet had inscriptions on it, bringing to the lens of human beings the greatest and the simplest law of all. Do unto others as ye would that other people do to you. On this representation of the great dolphin Vundu are marks which detail important things that are to be found in space, suns and worlds which breed living things. The wise ones of our people, the Sanusis, tell us that all these designs are messages from the gods of the stars to us human beings. This here is the most sacred constellation in the sky, namely Umzingeli. It is the constellation that white people call Orion, which some African tribes call Anansi. A Ndingiru is a craft in which the star gods travel. These are words that one must say when one opens channels of communication between oneself and the stars. They are symbols of the goddess that one must think about when one thinks about the stars. A goddess whose image we must bear in our minds. The goddess Nanana. These designs represent various worlds and stars which were once our heritage in the cosmos. However, we will not find this world because we ourselves destroyed it many, many millennia ago. In a far eastern country that I visited, I saw flesh being sold in little boxes, the flesh of creatures that I regard as gods and as brothers. Human beings must stop this destruction. It is meaningless, purposeless, and it bankrupts human minds. The killing of these holy creatures must stop. Please stop killing them.
Why did they shut my shit down? Because they're talking about the government is lying and covering money. So it's funny. But it's
Many are the mysteries of Africa. Many the mysteries of my country.
I don't care about that. This is not what I believe.
Many are the stories that are yet to be told. And many more those that will never be told.
No, he wasn't here for that part. Okay, he came in later. But tell me how the connection with aliens got started. With who? Connection aliens and the Nazis? When people started becoming obsessed with contact with aliens, you're saying the Nazis?
It was a freaking hospital. My dad told me about. So, Joe, that's what I'm telling you is, were you at the kitchen table when you were 8 hearing about cyborgs? See, that's why I know about this. My dad never got fully into it. He decided to get out of it. And he decided to get out of it. He decided...
You're legitimately freaking me the fuck out.
Joe, I will let you...
You know, the problem is some of it makes sense because people figure out a way to rationalize a lot of things. And if you see a guy who's mangled in a car accident, but he's still alive, and you know you can sell the organs...
His back's broken, he can save 5 lives. Yeah. Make him comfortable. It's true that some groups of Northern Europeans and then the Japanese, on average, per capita, have the highest IQ. And so they're Japanese, and then there are some Northern Europeans that have the highest IQs. But then you can get into, like, say, Jews have very high IQs on average.
European Jews have an extraordinary high number of, like,
social
Nobel Prize winners.
Yeah. It's a bunch of... So there's not just one type of intelligence.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, yeah. Well, there's tests that you can run in terms of mathematics, but there's no real tests you can run in terms of social intelligence.
Real test is psychic connectivity. They've proven that DNA is a transceiver. And so my skill is, that's why I'm usually kind of like almost autistic, is I'm just being constantly, like everything's going on. But then if I actually focus in, I can like figure out the exact enemy operation. That's why they're really pissed. People that are Jewish, that are German, that are Chinese, that are Japanese, that are Italian, that are Mexican, people that either through fear or whatever get into dark side, light side, get into, don't give people the knowledge, control the people, dumb them down, dominate them because they're only rocket fuel for you to go to the next level.
You know what's interesting about this? Not that you're right or wrong. What's interesting is how many people resist the idea that it's possible for someone to try to control everybody. And if you just go back in history, just, you know, go back to World War II and how Hitler controlled Germany. And
that's it. They tell you no one's trying to control you, but that's all that's going on.
But that one is a particularly fantastic one because it was a culture that came out of a bad time, right? They had out of World War I, and this guy offered them pride in being German. He offered them this idea of a master race. Like the master race is a crazy idea. But
if you look at the black Israelites, or you look at La Raza or Metcha, or you look at some of the right-wing Jewish groups, the Chinese, every group says we're the master race.
Yeah, well, sure. But I mean, how many have tried to engineer it the way Hitler did? That's what's really crazy.
Well, no, exactly. The reason the globalists, if you want to get the secret of Hitler?
No, but I'm saying,
you want Hitler's secret?
But hold on a second. What I'm saying is that it is amazing that there is a guy who has this idea of a master race, and if you were, but people reject.
Each year, the Genesis Prize honors an outstanding individual with a $1 million prize in recognition of his or her professional achievement, contribution to humanity, and commitment to the Jewish people and Israel. The founders of the Genesis Prize Foundation, German Hahn, Michael Friedman, Peter Haven, and Stan Powers, together with Genesis Prize partners, the Prime Minister's Office of the State of Israel, and the Jewish Agency for Israel, envisioned that the award would inspire the next generation of Jews in their quest for achievement and making a positive impact in the world. The hope of the Genesis Award from the beginning is that the senior leaders who win the award would inspire younger generations. In the short history of the Genesis Prize, a tradition has emerged for the laureates to re-gift their $1 million award to philanthropic causes about which they are passionate. In 2014, the Genesis Prize presented its inaugural award to philanthropist, businessman, and mayor of New York, Michael R. Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg used one of his speech, the idea to take his $1 million prize award and to share it between young people, doing what he called in Hebrew,
Tikkun Olam, making this world a better place.
Each year, the Genesis Prize Foundation, German Hahn, Michael Friedman, Peter Haven, and Stan Powers, together with Genesis Prize partners, the Prime Minister's Office of the State of Israel, envisioned that the award would inspire the next generation of Jews in their quest for achievement and making a positive impact in the world. The founders of the Genesis Prize Foundation, German Hahn, Michael Friedman, Peter Haven, and Stan Powers, together with Genesis Prize partners,
When I accepted the Genesis Prize, I knew that I wanted to use it to inspire young people to give back themselves. By encouraging the next generation to come up with creative ways to make a positive impact, the Genesis Generation Challenge is doing just that.
People that call and threaten and attack anybody, and then notice, Joe, once they're done with me, now it's Joe, you better not have this person on, or you better have that person on. And so what is your soul? What is your destiny worth? And I always thought I was smart because I could analyze politics and history. I was kind of socially retarded. And so
I don't think you're allowed to say that anymore.
Exactly. But I mean, I was. And so that's what I'm getting at is,
hey, did any of you see Trump's speech at CPAC? It was fantastic. He's such a great speaker. And were you as excited as me that he's actually signed freedom of speech bill or paper? I'm not sure what it is because I just heard about it.
The deadly yellow snow crystals had
require freedom of speech on U.S. campuses. I'm so happy to hear that because years ago, I don't know if you guys know this, but I got blacklisted from campuses in Berkeley and UC Davis, where I wanted to go and talk about anti-Semitism, and the left, of course, censored me like they try to do to anybody who talks about their evil ways and the things they do and believe, and how they've censored all social media and are trying to blacklist anybody who doesn't think like they do. And so I'm so glad that we have President Trump and that he has our backs and that he cares about freedom of speech still in America, and I can't wait until he starts to turn his genius eye to the internet, where it's just a filthy swamp, and I'd love to see that drain too. So anyway, I'm going to bed. I'm so tired. But anyway, I just thought that was so great because we really need our freedom of speech back on campuses in this country. And we need it on the internet too. So I wanted to hear what you guys thought about it. Leave your comments below. And please, you know, if you're an idiot, please don't post here. Thanks.
In April 2015, 9 winning teams were each awarded $100,000 to implement their projects. Sesame and AppLeSeeD, based in Israel, was one of the winners of the Genesis Generation competition.
When a competition like the Genesis Generation Challenge came and said we're highlighting projects that changed the world for the better, it was like, this is us, guys. Sesame uses advanced computer vision technology to track the user's head movements, to which you can operate the entire phone.
Another winning project was Building Up, an organization based in Toronto, Canada, which retrofits low-income housing units with water-efficient utilities, saving hundreds of thousands of dollars. Building Up then hires individuals with barriers to employment, teaching them marketable skills.
You're going into buildings, telling them to invest thousands of dollars, and you're hiring people that no one else will employ. To have that Michael Bloomberg stamp of approval was really something that opened a ton of doors.
Michael Bloomberg's regifting initiative has had a critical impact for young adult Jews and their communities around the world. Bloomberg himself has continued to show his dedication to the Jewish people in Israel since winning the Genesis Prize. Michael Bloomberg traveled to Israel during the FAA flight ban in 2014 to show his support for the Jewish state. The flight ban was lifted a day after Bloomberg arrived in Israel. When Bloomberg Philanthropies expanded its innovation team's program to 14 new cities, Jerusalem and Tel Aviv were awarded grants.
The Genesis Prize reached out to me to honor me. I had to stop them as I think I'm making a terrible mistake here. You know, my mother is not Jewish. They said, I think we know that. And this incredible sense of well-being, of being part of a group came over me. A feeling on the outside almost my entire life. And I I must say this Genesis Prize really gave me a sense of meaning.
Inspired by Michael Douglas's passion to engage intermarried families like his own in Jewish life, the decision was made to invest the 2015 Genesis Prize Award in a matching grants program through the Jewish Funders Net to support new and expanded initiatives to welcome intermarried couples and their children.
We had around 50 new funders that started to get philanthropically involved in this issue through the matching grant.
Philanthropist Roman Abramovich contributed an additional $1 million to further the impact of this initiative. $3.3 million has now been invested. The 28 recipient organizations from 7 countries are embarking on projects that will engage tens of thousands of previously unaffiliated families in Jewish life. During his year as the Genesis Prize laureate, Michael Douglas wrote an op-ed in the LA Times against anti-Semitism, was a keynote speaker at the Conference of the Union of Reform Judaism, addressed his congregation on Yom Kippur, and participated in the announcement of matching grants recipients at the Jerusalem Post Conference. He made it a priority to visit universities in the United States with the Shapeshifting to engage in dialogue with young adults about inclusion, anti-Semitism, and BDS.
We put together a tour, and I was very fortunate to have Nathan Sharansky, head of the Jewish Agency, who was willing to join me in talking to different college campuses.
A portion of Michael Douglas's Genesis Prize Award was granted to Hillel International, supporting efforts to train interns to engage students from intermarried families in Jewish life. The Genesis Prize Foundation mission has come to life, planting seeds that will bear fruit for years to come.
Everyone who entered the challenge, I hope you continue to give back to your communities, expand your ideas, and find new ways to repair the world.
I will be eternally grateful to the State of Israel, to the Genesis Prize, and to the Jewish Agency for trusting me in this opportunity and for bringing me closer to my tribe.
The Jewish community has always cared about others, always been generous in helping those in need uplift themselves.
The Genesis Prize is giving young people the opportunity to find a meaningful path, which will bring them closer to the Jewish people and Israel through the inspiration of each of the Genesis Prize laureates. The 2016 Genesis Prize laureate, Itzhak Perlman, plans to direct his award to projects that raise awareness for people with disabilities in Israel and the diaspora, and inspire the next generation's great classical musicians.
I would like to congratulate Michael Bloomberg and Michael Douglas on achieving the goals of the Genesis Prize. And I hope that in my humbleness, I can do a good job in giving and helping the world be a better world.
Jewish heritage and values have contributed to human advancement for centuries. The Genesis Prize is on a mission to encourage and strengthen those values within the next generation. This is just the beginning. The Genesis Prize, inspiring the next generation.
I got offered at the time like $5 million worth of Bitcoin. I think it was like $38 million by the time it got there. I refused it. And I got told like 8 years ago, I got told by 2 different people, very well-known rich people. They said, George Soros likes you. He wants to work with you and Alexander Soros, this other Soros. You just need to stop attacking. And by the way, we want you to pump Bitcoin, which I believe in cryptocurrencies. I believe it's the future. We got a private Federal Reserve. It's all fiat. I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying, be careful. And I was so dumb back then. I don't even say so dumb. I was not in the corrupt mindset the way the world worked. Like I knew how politics worked, and I knew how science worked, and I knew how crypto type, government and CIA stuff worked. but I was like never trying to get it.
Talking about interdimensional beings. NASA, bro. I'll choke you out with this shirt. NASA. Hey, you know, I'm gonna make you regret wearing this fucking shirt. Hey, listen, in high school, we used to choke each other out. That's what the boy told me out. No, please don't. Please don't. I'm scared. No. Hey, don't. Please don't choke my conscience. No. Please, let's go. You can't do it. You know, you think I'm afraid of this? No, I definitely don't think you're afraid of this, which is why I don't want to do it. You know what? Stop being pussy. Choke me out. You know what? Hey, let me tell you a story first. Back when I used to work at the strip club. You're the one. Hold on. Hey, Alex, sit down, please. Come on. Please. We have to work together here. Let's work together. Come sit down. I'm not getting it. Yeah. Have a seat. Hey, nice. Have a seat. Choke me out, Alex. Please tell me. In high school. I know you did. You told me. You grab each other and you fall down and hit your heads. You only takes like 20 seconds. What were you gonna say about strip club? Back when I was blue belt, 1995. I worked at the strip club and there was this girl I was dating. She was a bartender. She was seriously 4'10".
It was like this 17-year-old super hot chick, and I was like 13.
Tied up.
And she lived down the street. No. She goes, I got permission because I was pretty young, like 12. And she goes, I'll have sex with you. It's a true story. I'll have sex with you if you let me put makeup on you. So I'm not into gay stuff or anything. So the girl puts the makeup on me and I have sex with her. And she's super hot. And then like a week later, she goes, now I'm going to choke you out. And that relationship went really well until her like 30-year-old boyfriend caught me at her place once because her mom was always working.
Oh my God.
And tried to kill me in the parking lot.
Oh my God. I'll have sex with you if I can put makeup on you.
I let her. The full deal.
Listen, you're a wise man. That bitch could dress me up like a clown. Why not?
Anyways, that's another story. So here's some of the things I have, and then we can go forever. Here goes. Not conspiracies, but real-world programs developing a breakaway civilization. What is a breakaway civilization? You understand that? It's the key to everything.
Finest sets, fill the stage with penthouse pets. You may have the loveliest costumes and best shoes. You may dance and you may sing, but I'm sorry, Arthur King, you'll hear no cheers, just lots and lots of boos. You may have butch men by the score, whom the audience adore. You may even have some animals from zoos. But the audiences won't care, sir, as long as you don't dare, sir, to open up on Broadway if you don't have any Jews.
Beneath this song's comedic message, there's a simple truth that the Jewish people are the driving force and the heart and soul of every type of entertainment, from Paris to Odessa, Broadway to Hollywood. It's who we are, born from a people who are storytellers. It's the way we pass our rich heritage from one generation to the next, how we cope with the hard times and celebrate the good times. And in doing so, we ended up entertaining the world. Through the Yiddish theater, Jewish culture blossomed from Eastern Europe to New York City.
Standardized total surveillance control grid. The power to spy is the power to control. Human-animal hybrids, we already covered that. Yep. Mass farming of humanoid tissue, transhuman endgame.
We covered that.
Multi-layered binary weapon delivery systems. That's one we haven't had.
Oh, what's that?
Well, we'll get into some of that. The thing is 5G behavioral modifications. We hit that. Trojan horse delivery systems, cell phones, vaccines. GMOs have been tested and designed to hurt you. Again, vaccines are real. You can give somebody something that gives them the cure to another disease that they would get, but they're jacking it like a cell phone. They're adding stuff. Your ticket to immortality.
Wait a minute, what do you think is, let's cover that. What do you think is happening with vaccines?
I know.
Okay, tell me what's going on.
I always use this because everyone's heard of it. Everyone heard about 1947 to 1983, and it only came public because the program was exposed in Peru and exposed in West Virginia, but the media picked up because it was white on black. Not all the white people it happened to. I don't care if you're black or white. Injecting over 1 million people with live syphilis in the name of vaccines. You know about Tuskegee?
I do know about that.
But you only know about Alabama and over 40-something years only injecting blacks. But it happened all over the world. Search engine.
Hi. Well, I want to give a little bit of code so that you'll understand my videos better. When I say Satan, what I mean by that is mind control. So rewatch my videos with that in mind.
Broadway was a natural place for Jews to find a home. For the theater needed those who were masters of song and the written word.
Oh, how I hate to get up in the morning.
Legends like Irving Berlin.
How I'd love to remain in bed.
Because they always go, oh, now the Army's terrorist. Like you said, don't call it the whole government, a select group. The Army did that. They staged it. So imagine, used to, the press would get a lot of stuff right, but they would get demoted or whatever would happen. Once Trump got in, which I don't think Trump's bad, and at gut level I think he's good, but I almost think like it's more sophisticated. They put him in knowing it'd piss everybody off to get the liberals who traditionally have been the real watchdogs for free speech and against human experimentation. And suddenly they're like in Gallup polls, we love war, we love experimentation, we love everything. I'm getting chills right now. And so imagine, Joe, I've been on air for 23 years and I'm a news hound. I spend 4 or 5 hours a day reading news. So I don't just believe NBC News that our government gave people. Notice I said Peru because that was a big documented case. You just found Guatemala.
Different
I can't keep track of this. Well, it's the
they
same
probably
program.
did it everywhere.
And it went on to the 80s. It's still going on. So imagine, I have literally, by the time Sandy Hook happens, I've literally seen 10,000 articles and documents or more where they're admitting in 1962, the Joint Chiefs of Staff under Lemonster came to President Kennedy, this is on PBS, and said, we're going to blow up buildings, shoot up schools and movie theaters, and bomb Army bases and Marine bases. We're going to have...
The Gershwins. Jerome Kern. And Rodgers and Hammerstein often use somebody else's story to tell their own. Tackling moral, racial, and cultural issues in a way that was always entertaining.
If you can fight in America, fight in America. If you don't fight in America.
Well, we're gonna need, you guys go in the moon or in orbit. I can tell you right now, this is what I'm gonna do. Okay, you raise the money for a trip outside. Okay, you raise the money. Go pee, man. You didn't know. No, you did. The plan. He's the ambassador. He's the ambassador. Go pee, man. This is what this woman is about. This is what you give me time here. 27 entire crew. You are going to the end of the planet. But it's not me. I'm gonna designate somebody. I'm just scared. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. I'm gonna send the other one out. You're gonna find the end of the world. I'm gonna film the drop off of my iPhone. Yes. Go pee, man. Go pee. Don't you have to go? We're gonna send someone else. We're gonna do this. You know what? We're gonna do this. How does the crew go? Jamie put some shit on the road. They made them. That's you too. No, the governor. Listen, do you really think there's people out there campaigning for late-term abortions? You think that shit's real? You think that shit's real? Monday, they came in late. Who would do that? Who would campaign for the people who get on the crazy issue? They're fucking killing all the abortions. So you're telling me it isn't real? Bring it out. Fucking vote. You're gonna goddamn fucking say it. That's a conspiracy theory. That's a conspiracy theory. We think you're fucking talking about again. Oh, shit. We're gonna kill all the babies. Stop fucking lying. God fucking damn. I'm getting pissed now. Don't get pissed. No, I'm pissed. Shut up. Dude, if you don't get fucking real.
But over time, they also told our stories, taking on bigotry, intolerance, and anti-Semitism.
Come on, here, go.
Sorry, Jew boy. Dirty cunt.
Fucking Jews deserve to win. I deserve to win. I put it on the line. They went out there, they fought, and they fucking won. Fuck them.
Right now,
Alex,
the fucking Senate voted to kill babies after they're fucking born.
I was just playing with you. Of course I believe that, Alex.
Let me explain.
Of course I believe.
Eddie,
it's all over the news.
Eddie,
I was just playing with you.
Let me explain to you. Let me explain to you. We went into a long conversation about that.
I heard it.
We played.
I heard it.
Okay, you heard it.
I heard the whole podcast.
Oh, you're teasing me.
I'm playing with you.
Okay.
But imagine my psychosis is this.
What I said.
Reality is so crazy that I always thought I was so tough.
I can't believe he doesn't have to pee anymore.
That I gotta piss a little bit. The point is that, dude, I'm not. The reality's so crazy. Why are we debating whether the earth is flat? Dude, they have human-animal hybrids. There's the freaking, I have been there when people that work for the Pentagon say that we go to the laboratory and we meet with the ambassador. We have to take higher and higher dosages to meet with them. They're giving us technology and the technology worked. This is going on, dude. Do you want to know this?
Listen. Relax.
You think about
Alex.
space isn't real. The freaking dimensions, man. The aliens are coming through the dimensions.
Alex.
While many gravitated to the Broadway stage, the early 20th century saw a new breed of entrepreneur in a brand new medium, the dream factory of Hollywood.
facts. Think about what I said. I said, dude, do you think there's actually people out there that believe or that are campaigning?
I got a $20,000 digital telescope. I can look and freaking
listen to what I said. Did you hear what I said? I said, do you think there's actually people out there that are campaigning for late-term abortions? Of course there are, but I'm making it seem like I don't believe they are.
No, I get it now.
I'm being the ultimate skeptic.
Okay, I thought you were.
I'm being the ultimate skeptic.
Listen, Eddie
Listen
does
to
that.
the words I said.
He does that all the time. He's just fucking around.
I wanted to be your enemy right there.
I'm threatened. I'm not Mr. Goody Two-Shoes by them keeping babies alive and killing them, and that nobody cares. I fundamentally, that's what I'm saying. I'm being honest here. Is I'm not like certifiably crazy, but I deal with this all day long. I get why Joe tries to shy away, and people go crazy doing
No,
with it.
well, I never saw that clip of that guy saying that they would resuscitate the babies, and then they would make a decision.
You haven't heard about that New York bill that they're trying to pass?
They passed it.
I mean, it's some big shit. It's like worse than Gotham City. It's worse than Gotham City.
They're giving a bunch of goddamn fucking organ harvesting doctors control outside of law. You heard that piece of shit fucking KKK guy, fucking governor, say we're gonna keep them alive after they're fucking born.
The men who gave birth to the movie industry came to America from the Russian Empire, Eastern and Central Europe. Names like Goldman and Lindley, Fox and Mayer, Cohn and Zukor, and Warner. And when they found themselves discriminated against in their chosen professions, they created an empire of their own, one where there were no barriers and no discrimination. Because they built it, they owned it, and in doing so, they invented a new way to tell a story on a much larger stage.
Don't cry, Goody, don't cry.
In 1927, a Jew born in the Russian Empire, Al Jolson, starred in a movie produced by a Jew, in a story about the son of a cantor who defied his father to become a jazz singer.
Wait a minute, you ain't heard nothing yet.
Those few words he said on screen in a talking motion picture were heard by millions. It was a landmark moment, for those words brought an end to silent films and changed the movies forever.
Rick, you realize what talking movies will mean for you?
And now, 88 years after the jazz singer, it is the Jews, directors, producers, and actors who have helped take cinema to a new level of sophistication and influence.
Because they want to fucking take their organs.
It's incredible.
He's a KKK guy?
It's incredible.
Of course, fuck.
It's so incredible that
he's in a picture with a guy in a KKK outfit and blackface. They elected him because he's blackmailed. They had that shit. And when he messed up and said we keep them alive to get their fucking organs, they used that to deactivate him. Why do you think fraternities have you screw sheep and all this and, you know, give guys blowjobs? That's why they never joined them. Because they wanted to.
Wait, go back. What? Say that again? Fraternities. Okay.
I'm so happily excited to do this podcast. I'm so happy.
See how it turned out?
It's fucking amazing.
Did they piss on your rocks?
It's fucking amazing.
You should get your job about 3 o'clock.
It's doing world order,
baby.
You gotta piss.
Go ahead, piss.
New fucking world order.
Oh my god.
Eddie?
I got you. Dude, you got so pissed off. I'm so glad I fucked with you.
A lot of, I want to be very helpful to people who don't understand what Satanism is. And a lot of Satanists don't know they're Satanists, so I like to help them break out their satanic mind control and And so I offer the following with great love. How to tell if you are a Satanist. Number one, you hate Jews. You think you know Jews better than Jews do. You think you know Judaism more than Jewish scholars. You think you know Jewish history more than Jewish historians. And you don't. That's clue number one. Clue number two is you can't spell with shit. Number three, you're arrogant and ignorant. That's a huge clue as to whether you are a Satanist or not. And fourth, You can't form a cohesive thought because you lack a fucking brain in that empty-headed bullshit that you've swallowed. So I hope these things will help.
Jewish filmmakers like Steven Spielberg, whose use of new techniques, just like the movies before them,
That was awesome.
who have once again changed the movies forever. And there was another medium where early Jewish stars made their mark. They became the biggest names on the little screen. Dinah Shore, Gertrude Bird, Jack Benny, Groucho Marx, Sid Caesar, and Joey Bishop. Milton Berle was so important to this new medium, he was called Mr. Television. And they and those who followed them have for 60 years dominated the small screen worldwide.
You know who's responsible for that, don't you? The Jews.
We've unleashed a monster. Jewish entertainers became so popular that a number of Gentile stars wanted in on a good thing. And superstars like Marilyn Monroe, Elizabeth Taylor, and Sammy Davis Jr. were among those who converted to Judaism.
Barbara Streisand. Hello, gorgeous. Daniel Day-Lewis.
For a people so small in number, our impact is staggering.
Dustin Hoffman for Raymond.
Dozens of Emmy and Golden Globe winners, and almost 40% of Oscar-winning directors are members of the tribe, including such legends as Billy Wilder, Woody Allen, Barry Levinson, Mike Nichols, Steven Spielberg, Milos Forman, the Coen brothers, and the Weinstein brothers. Billy Crystal, the greatest Oscar host of all, a man who hosted the show 9 times, is Jewish. As is Jon Stewart, who hosted the Oscars twice.
There you go. Now you're talking.
And is one of America's most important late-night talk show hosts and political commentators.
What John said to me when I said I didn't want to trouble you with my difficulties, he said, "You cannot be Jewish. If I had gas, I would trouble you with my difficulties."
Today, the cultural and creative influence of Jews in Hollywood, on Broadway, and across the globe is as important as ever. And whether we are behind or in front of the camera, on late-night TV, or the theater stage, on the little screen, or the big screen, we continue in the same starring roles we've had for generations, for we are the storytellers, making the world laugh, cry, and always be entertained.
We got some, dude. Do you realize how many JRE clips they're gonna make of that shit? Dude, they're gonna put you to music. They're gonna put you to mariachis.
You pulled up MIT saying they got animal, human, pigs.
Oh yeah, we did.
Let's just not forget.
We did. Listen, go to. Listen, man, he just kind of freaked me out about several subjects. No bullshit.
Yeah.
He freaked me out about several subjects.
There's people out there campaigning.
For the record, that article says that there was no written deep data on that. That came from 3 interviews they had. So
this is the human pig one?
Yeah, people were saying that to them in that article.
Man, of course they tried it. Why wouldn't they try it? If you were a leader of the free world, like wasn't there some? God damn it! Was it the Nazis that were trying to theorize how to combine humans with animals to make a stronger human? Wasn't there some of that?
They were for sure into that.
Wasn't there something like that?
If there's a YouTube link that's that's a
for sure, right? Like for sure,
proof.
they definitely. I mean, I think all governments definitely give their soldiers steroids. They definitely give them amphetamines. They definitely give them chemicals to make them crazy.
Shit, I would. Are you kidding?
That's where they started doing.
You're running this fucking army.
The Nazis, or not the Nazis, rather the kamikazes. The kamikazes, they would meth them up. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's true. Read that.
100%. I read that on YouTube.
Yeah, that was one of the ways they would get them, not just like nationalism and pride for their country. They would jack them up on crystal meth, and that's why they'd fly that plane right into that fucking boat.
That is a nutty thing to do, man. You gotta be in a weird state of mind. And you gotta have such a horrible life. They're like, fuck it, let me just crash into this fucking boat, right? For the They're like happy about it. They're like, I can't wait to escape this shit. What an insane choice. That's the only peace he has is when he's in that plane killing people. What a fucking crazy choice that you're gonna do that for your Alex, welcome back to talking about kamikazes. We're saying that we think kamikazes were, they gave him crystal meth, right? Wasn't that part of the program?
Yeah, no, I mean, warfare is always drugs. And
We were
the
saying that
Nazis
too.
and the Japanese, well, the Japanese learned about in World War I, when they were actually on our side against Russia, well, it went back and forth. In World War I, the Japanese learned about MSG, because Japanese like good food. And they're like, the military wouldn't complain, they would just lose weight and starve to death. So they learned when they were fighting the Russians in World War I to just go ahead and give them MSG. Which MSG eats holes in your brain, everything. It's super toxic. And so, yeah.
Monosodium glutamate? Like the stuff from Chinese food? Is that what you're saying?
It's super freaking toxic. Yeah.
Is it really?
But beyond that, yes, they would give them. Well, the Germans were big on steroids and methamphetamine.
We were just saying that.
Yeah. Well, that's on record. I mean, it's not. This is like in mainline history stuff. By the way, I said I'd give you the secrets of Hitler.
Oh. There's secrets?
Yep.
What are they?
But this is not the BS. This is the real thing.
Okay.
How do you know, though? Who's telling you this stuff?
It's beyond classified, Eddie.
Beyond classified, Eddie.
No, I mean,
Alex, seriously, do you ever think?
Okay,
because you have a lot of sources.
My grandfather was German in Dallas, and he worked for the inventor of indoor air conditioning. He was a billionaire in what's the rich area in Dallas where the Republicans all live? God, what's the name of that place? No, it's not Arlington. It's the thing right there in the middle of Dallas.
Arnold?
No,
that's Austin.
No, you think that's Austin. You think Dallas is like all buildings. There's a huge park and like all these big mansions. Anyways, he lived up there. It wasn't just from him. You know, I'm not going to get into it. The point is that Hitler was on the cover of Time magazine, and he was.
That's true. Unless that's a Photoshop that I saw on the internet.
He won it twice.
Well, Trump was on the cover of Time magazine too.
But
exactly.
Not really.
See, the problem is, I'll give you guys the data.
Was that fake?
He made his own.
Or should I just give it just stall, like a boil down? Here's the thing. It wasn't just my grandfather, it was these other people. My grandfather said it was really confusing for him because he worked for this guy that was in refrigeration and air conditioning when he was in high school, and his dad owned the car dealerships in Dallas and stuff. They lived there. The rich area of Dallas.
And what did they tell you?
Well, through one reason he wanted, by the time World War II started, to drop out of UT and all that and go join the Army Air Corps. So he used to tell me all this stuff. My mom would go, "Your grandfather is a little eccentric." Now, like my grandfather knew Werner von Braun when he came to Austin.
What?
Yeah.
What?
So, anyways,
your grandpa knew Werner von Braun?
Well, we went to some of those events. Yeah, he came to went to UT events, the private events.
Okay, that's incredible.
But the point is, I'm getting to because they were like German.
No wonder you believe in the moon landing. I get it now. Didn't make sense.
Let's just say.
Well, let's let him finish your story.
My family was what they called High German, and so that's what that is. Ubermenschen. So they only would talk to people that were in the club.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, my grandfather, the family was like an Ubermenschen, and so high IQ, the whole 9 yards. So he was working with this German guy, and he would just go over there after school and work with him as an apprentice. And my grandfather watched him get more and more depressed and more crazy by the end of the 30s. And the guy confided in him. He said, Clyde was my grandfather's name. He said, "Yeah, the Nazis have my family in Germany. They're going to kill them all. But I'm having to give them everything I got, all my money, and I'm having to sell the patents and work like I was working like 20 hours a day, giving everything he had because they were going to kill his family in Nazi Germany." He was German. And so my grandfather went and enlisted in the Army Air Corps to fight Hitler because he had that experience. And he was so mad when I was a kid. He was like, when I was a kid in Dallas, WBAP had Hitler speeches on. Because Germans are a big part of the U.S. And there was the boom. Everybody was supposed to join it. And Hitler was good. And we never really bought into it. And then I found out this mentor of mine, and this guy like Bill Gates had everything he had sucked out of him by the Nazis. So that's what the Nazis would do, is extort and control. So I kind of heard about that. Then my grandfather would go. So they'd send me down there like a week during the summer. I was like 8 years old. I'm hearing this. And he's like, Von Braun has the plan for this orbital spacecraft. We're landed and we're going to have artificial gravity systems. And I'm hearing all this stuff. He's got like markers at the table, like talking about it. And I'm sitting there listening to this. And he would talk about, then I was a lease hound for, Texaco. And the only place you get a chicken fried steak out in New Mexico or West Texas was a military base. And all these goddamn Nazis. And, one time I didn't want to do it, but that guy smarted off about how they had more better at shooting our planes down. So I went ahead and just rammed his head right through the wall. And I never knew what happened after that, but son, you just gotta kill Nazis. And those son of a bitches, our government brought in thousands of those assholes. And I'm like listening to this, so I'm like, I'm gonna read about Nazis. So by the time I'm about 10, I start buying books. When I was like 12, I walk into a bookstore and I want Mein Kampf. They go, are you a Nazi? Like reading Hitler's My Struggle. No, I'm not a Nazi. Both my grandfathers told me how bad Nazis were, and both almost died fighting Nazis, so I wanted to know about Nazis. Because it was this whole ethos. And so that's just the whole story of understanding that. And I have my dad's angle, my grandfather's angle, and all those other angles.
Operation Paperclip?
He didn't call it paperclip. He said our government brought those. You think he would always say was.
Yeah, but that's. I think there was several waves. There was
it's like 34,000 of them.
Yeah, there was a lot of fucking Nazi scientists brought over.
On YouTube, it says Operation Paperclip was anywhere from like 1,200 to 1,500.
Search engine. The total number of admitted congressional hearings in the 1970s.
Operation Paperclip.
Frank Church Committee in the 70s released it. I believe the number's 34,200 and something. Look it up. Just like I told you, they gave people samples. Look it up.
But it is fascinating. They brought those people over here, and that's where the space program came from.
That's why I wore this shirt, not as a sick joke. They already had the CIA that was OSS. Okay.
The CIA is OSS?
That's all on record.
Okay.
I'm glad you questioned me.
No, but I don't know what that means.
CIA.
What is OSS again?
Office of Special Plans.
That was before the CIA. And then the CIA came out.
Office of Strategic
Sort of like...
Office of Strategic Services.
Like what was before the SEALs? What Jesse Ventura was in?
No, Jesse Ventura wasn't in that. He was an auxiliary of the Navy. He was never in combat. Anyways, let me expand on that. The OSS,
UDT.
the Office of... My memory's lost. The OSS was British intelligence, probably the most powerful intelligence agency ever. They set up Proud House in 22 after World War II to anglicize the U.S. with British intelligence. Not a British intelligence takeover, a marriage. This is like on PBS.
Okay.
This is stuff that's true, they admit. Same thing, only academics are watching it, so they'll tell the truth. The general pop culture is all crap. Meant to be dumbed down, meant to turn you off. But when you go to the real academic stuff, like the old days of Frontline and stuff, like I watched that to know it was true. Later I got the documents, it's all real. That's like those shows are like really accurate. Like Bobby Kennedy planned to blow up the embassy in Honduras or something like that. What was I getting to?
I don't know.
Nazis.
Well,
Warner von Braun. Isn't it weird? Isn't it weird that the one man who directed all 6 moon missions was a Nazi, and he was brought in over?
Weird.
Isn't it weird that
isn't that crazy?
One guy didn't smoke weed, and one guy's having a problem with his memory. 2 guys did.
Hey, you want to defend Warner von Braun?
I'm not defending him. In
That's
1935,
fine. I get it. Nazis.
And I've seen documentaries and read about it. He sketched for Hitler this plan to drop atomic bombs that they hadn't developed yet. So when you see Red Skull, Marvel comic, they've got a big bomber to blow up New York.
Yeah.
It wasn't a bomber, it was a space plane. And it was about half the size, but looked just like this. And the Germans, actually, some of their scientists went to the Russians. Remember when the Russians tried to build their space shuttle that was half the size? Mm-hmm. That was actually the German plan. So you look it up. I'm not kidding.
Because the Russians took a lot of Germans as well, correct?
About a third of them, yeah. So look. The reason I'm wearing this is to explain this is a gateway to all of it. So you have British intelligence that had won World War I, even though Germany had way more advanced technology. They then take over. British intelligence basically merges with the U.S., and then the Germans and others say we've got to go way ahead in technology. It was all theoretical in labs, but they couldn't mass deploy it. They didn't have enough machine shops and systems to build it, and U.S. Special Forces went on suicide missions and blew up the underground mountains.
How about the Nazis were the first to build flying saucers?
All of it.
How crazy is that?
But let me tell you.
That's crazy.
So,
isn't that a coincidence?
So, British intelligence
flying saucers, dude.
The CIA in 47. So now the Nazis are over here and they go, listen, you don't want them running everything. And they go to Eisenhower and they say, we want to launch a off-base breakaway civilization where you compartmentalize things, forget empires, and you have a new ruling class of technological elites, and then the elites are all in charge, the public's watching TV, and we'll give them widgets and foundation series type things to divert. This is all in the documents. And let them try to run an empire, we'll build a whole new empire. And so Eisenhower gives a speech, worry about, he doesn't just say military-industrial complex, he says the technological elite. Watch the full 21-minute speech, his farewell address in 62. He says, or 61, he says you need to watch out about the scientists because he said no to the NASA plan when he found out what it was.
What is it?
It's a breakaway civilization where you don't try to run the whole planet. You siphon off resources and build a whole new advanced system, and then you play everybody off against each other and collapse it. So when I say, what is NASA? If we could take NASA back over, it's bigger than the CIA. It's the real government. The spaceships and the stuff, that's all PR.
NASA is the real government?
NASA, there were 2 breakaway governments, 2 shadow governments. Remember, I talked about shadow government 20 years ago. It's in the documents. And so you had one that was British run, and the Germans came to our own U.S. elites and said, hey, you always need a couple plans. They said, we've got all this on the drawing board. The EU, a plan to poison the food and water to get rid of the dumb people, a plan for off-world bases. We've got, by the way, we're taking hardcore drugs and we're in contact with aliens.
How is
They're giving us technology. It was the Germans first got in touch.
Well, how'd they do it?
They were really
Drugs.
into the occult.
Yeah, really into the cult. That's what all the Indiana
He had like
Jones shit's
witches and
about.
shit around him at all times.
Yeah, human sacrifices.
Did you know that?
No, they
That's
had like
real shit.
Yeah.
The Vril Society,
What I'm telling you, Joe, this is not me. You go to the real deep PhD level history books.
Okay.
NASA is the German breakaway government. Just always the Germans and the Brits fighting for dominance. Okay.
So what you're saying is when Operation Paperclip acquired all those Nazi scientists, they essentially started running NASA. So NASA became like almost like an offshoot of the German government, this offshoot government?
Yeah, the Germans had piled all the wealth away. They had everything, so they made
Does
deals.
that really make sense, though, that in 2019 that's still going on?
No. The British intelligence doesn't run the CIA today. The British Empire was under attack and just bankrupted itself in World War I. It said, we'll give you the keys to the kingdom. Churchill wrote 3 books, this history of the English-speaking peoples. He was half American. And this is officially in books. We merged with the British Empire in like 1930, covertly. Okay, that's what the CFR is British intelligence and U.S. intelligence. So the U.S. runs the show. Okay, so you've got, but German intelligence came to Eisenhower and said, listen, you don't need to do all this. We haven't given them the real technology. We're in contact with aliens. And they've given us the whole plan.
Now, where are you getting this from that you're stating it so confidently?
It's in the literature, man. Hitler would go.
What literature?
Mainline historical books about
mainstream
SS castles where they go, the aliens want blood, so they kill like 20 kids and everything. So the aliens would like come in the field.
Aliens are eating blood?
They brings them in like sharks, and then they would like give them technology. They go, this is how it works. You build the atomic weapons this way. You build it. They would like show them bombers and like the aliens are like telepathic. I don't even believe this. This is what the Nazis believe. And the aliens would mind meld and give them the technology. They're bad aliens.
So
are you surprised the Nazis were influenced by demons?
No, if demons are real, I would definitely think they'd be on the side of the Nazis.
Yeah. But Joe, what I'm telling you is
think aliens
there'll
are
be
demons?
no media is going to attack this.
I want to know where I can read it. Where can I read those statements that they were in contact with the aliens?
Well, obviously your podcast
Look
is
up
giant.
Nazi Vril Society, VRIL
If you let me
Society. He had a group of chicks.
That's
witches.
aliens? That's
They were
aliens?
like right up there with them, like doing
And I don't have to come up
rituals.
for 3 hours. If I can fly here with a report the day before, I'll send it all to you with mainline books. I'll mail the books with tabs in them.
Okay.
And I'll mail documents.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Listen, I think that they absolutely were obsessed with the occult. That's been pretty well documented.
They made flying saucers.
Yeah, and I think many governments.
They developed a more advanced form of nuclear fuel, heavy water. And we had to send in special forces on suicide missions, back when it was really special forces, to blow it up. And I'm telling you, the Germans had all sorts of advanced shit. They just couldn't ever keep the plants from getting blown up because they were a few years behind.
Yeah.
And by the way, Churchill wrote about this in his memoirs and said the Germans were way ahead. It wasn't the Germans were bad. The Nazis were bad, but it wasn't the Germans that first bombed civilian targets. In 1941, the Brits were losing the war. Hitler was bombing their medical facilities and military facilities, and so they went and bombed German towns and German cities like what's the famous German city, Dresden, where it was designated a safe city for kids. 500,000 people died in one night to trick Hitler to turn his bombers on the general population, and they tricked him psychologically to do it. But Churchill, this has been declassified. It's in esoteric books. It's admitted.
So Hitler was set up?
Well, Hitler was bad, but here's what happened. Albert Speer was his chief armaments and architects minister in British double agent. Rudolf Hess was the deputy Fuhrer. The guy Hitler totally loved, but you never hear about him since 1941 because they had a peace treaty with Edward VIII, who was the King of England, who was a Nazi and who was German. British family, German. And they had a deal to stage the attack. The French stood down. Vichy French didn't fight. They put Nazi occupiers in. The Dunkirk operation was allowed to evacuate. Edward VIII was supposed to then sue for peace through Neville Chamberlain. But it's come out that it was all set up by Churchill and others. Not that they ran Hitler. Not that they weren't bad. They were pretty good. But they master manipulated him and Neville Chamberlain and all of them and bet on the British people in America to come in. They had deals with Roosevelt to then bring us into the war. And that was the whole master plan. And you can actually go to the history and see all that. And that's what's so incredible, Joe, when you have all this info. And so Rudolf Hess, in 1941-42, he flies a one-man bomber. He was a World War I fighter ace, like the number 3 ace, like 100-some aircraft. Look it up, Rudolf Hess. He flies in, parachutes into the castle the king was in at the time, in like northern England, I forget the name of it. He parachutes in with the peace treaty signed by the King of England. They lock him up in the tower for the rest of his life in London. And Edward VIII had to advocate. Type in Edward VIII Hitler, and you'll see him in videos, films, and photos. He was in Spain when World War II started.
Where do you think the contact with the aliens came from? When did that start?
All right, this is the most important thing we're going to cover.
Not aliens, like...
No, hold on.
Interdimensional aliens?
Alien means anything not of this world.
When did that happen? Get that motherfucking vodka loose.
No, I don't. Fake vodka looks wrong.
It's fake. I need to hear about aliens.
I'm going to take a pull of that cigar, but I don't smoke marijuana.
Yeah, that's
we don't smoke marijuana. And we
you know what's crazy about You know what's crazy about aliens is that YouTube made a big announcement that they're gonna go after 9/11 videos. Anything? I don't know if this is true.
No, it's true.
I don't know, but is it true that they're demonetizing any videos that have truth or liberty in them?
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes, but let me go
I don't know if that's true, but I heard that.
Well,
that sounds crazy.
Me and
but
Joe
the crazy
had
thing,
some
hold on,
interesting
hold
off-air
on.
discussions.
Hold on, let me finish real quick. It's crazy how they're going after 9/11, miracle cures.
I already know. I learned 5 years
but
ago.
they're blowing up alien videos.
Let me tell you,
they're blowing them the
is
fuck
wonderful
up.
and
Those
she's
are the
sweet.
strongest monetized videos out there.
I don't know about that.
No,
Is
it's true.
The strongest
It's true.
monetized
Dude.
videos?
It is.
Well, there's a lot of videos out there.
They're getting the best deals.
Little
They have
kids
the
with
best
toys.
sponsors. They have the top of the line sponsors.
Dude,
No, I'll tell you when Eddie's right. I actually know the numbers.
They're blowing up alien videos
There's
right
a
now.
little kid who makes $22 million a year reviewing toys.
No.
That's like the number one. Isn't he like one of the number one guys on YouTube? He's like 8.
And I was never the alien guy. Right? I've never been the big alien guy.
Never.
So I was on 2 years ago with you.
Right.
And you know what? That's right. I remember when I was balls deep in aliens because I believed all that shit. I believe it used to be that you'd be a conspiracy theorist if you believed in aliens. But not anymore. Now, if you believe in aliens,
Eddie, this
you're
is
not
real.
a conspiracy.
This
You're
is real,
mainstream
okay?
now.
Okay, but let's tell me how the connection between aliens and the Nazis took place. When did all this start?
Let me begin. This is really, I'm telling you, Joe, this is a real deal.
I believe you.
This is, you ask, who are they? It's people who are psychically, genetically available to interface in this incredibly diverse universe with all these dimensions above and below and all around us with consciousnesses. And the truth is, no energy is ever destroyed. It all continues on. The truth is, our bodies, this is a fact, are a communal hive organism of all of our ancestors and all of their race memories, but not in just some compressed epigenetic system. It's beyond that. It's an electrochemical antenna, they've proven this, that connects to higher and lower dimensions. So our bodysuit because our predecessors wouldn't put us in a position without giving us a bodysuit that is them. Our families are loving us. They're holding us. They're wrapped all around us. Their strength, their will, their bad, their good, their sins, the good things they did, the battles they won, the battles they lost, the woman they loved, the man they loved. It's all in us. All these people. It's why we're able to look into so many things and have so many different experiences. And so all the shaman, all the ancient religions, everybody says there are the good ones and there are the bad ones, and people are interfacing. So you say, where does it begin? From the Tibetans to the Mesoamericans to the Egyptians to the Druids to every ancient society describes the same thing. There are bad things that look like elves that have horns when they show you who they really are, and there are good things, but they don't contact you unless you contact them, and then they're almost not even concerned with what you're doing. I never bought into this, looked into it. But then I began to think about, what did I hear when I was a kid? What did I see? What was coming out in government documents? What was being admitted? When I read all these books about World War II and the Nazis and Hitler obsessed with the Dalai Lama and the Tibetans and what they were able to do without drugs to interface with this, and all the rituals they would do, and how they would believe that beyond the ether, like at Skull and Bones, it's a German death cult, they do rituals and take drugs to talk to the goddesses. Well, they're just appearing as, sexy, beautiful women. It's whatever you want as these spirit guides, because lower entities will come in and violate your free will. God and his angels, which are below him, will not get involved in your everyday life. They will not manipulate your free will unless you ask them in. But then the devil masquerades as an angel of light. So we're on this planet, the third dimension, which is a launch pad to all the other dimensions below and above. The third dimension, all the mathematics shows, is the primal sea of where all this happens. And the Earth's like an egg, and we've got all this potentiality. And God will send out a transmission for a larger plan, but evil's willing to come in, and what does it say? Demoralize, get rid of children, don't have kids, humans are bad, we'll be better once you're all gone. And it's because it's their operational mission, for whatever reason that we'll understand later what's going on. So the Nazis, if you get the deep literature, they believed they were basically seancing and being possessed by entities that, it was before the Nazis. For whatever reason, it was the Germans that this happened to, and the Swiss. Like, they didn't discover LSD in the 30s. These people were running the psychology departments. They were interfacing with the occult. They were involved in all this crazy stuff. And it was all about their power and how great they were going to be. And the Germans were seduced. And they were seduced because they had high IQs, but more than that, they were psychically connected to each other and would work like robots. The Chinese and the EU want robots to replace us because they'll follow orders. And the Chinese are very conscious when they're conscious, but they're also very robotic. But the Germans are just as robotic. So this entity system picked Germans as its attempt, even in World War I, World War II, and it was manipulating the Brits as well, and offering them technologies, but two different paths. One was social control and all this other stuff with the Brits. The other was high-tech weapons, systems, interdimensional with the Germans. And so whoever these players are, and you can dial into it, but it's very dangerous. They're manipulating the British arm versus the German arm, and then they've got the Chinese arm that's almost seen as like their robot army. And so when you study it, the globalists go to these events, and they take bigger and bigger doses of drugs. They do electroshock. If you go back to owners of Time Life books, weren't just in the 20s and 30s into LSD and other hallucinogens and apothecary. They were getting electroshock. They were having people turn their heart off to try to communicate with these things, to try to be dominant and get that. So you go back thousands of years, Merlin, the archetypal, or these magicians or these wizards are taking drugs in these temples and interfacing with these palantirs, these crystal balls, which aren't really crystal balls. It's their psychic focus of an interdimensional connection while they're on drugs, looking into glass, to then be able to see the future and understand what's happening, to give them temporal power over this planet. But like the Bible tells you, any pharmakia or any of that always leads to destruction, because only evil is going to come through that way. So we're basically have these light sockets. We can't jack into the higher unless it's our free will, and that takes time. We jack in to the evil. So you can jack into evil, you can't jack into good right away. So it's quicker, it's easier, like Yoda says about Darth Vader. Quicker, easier, more seductive. And so then I remember being a kid, and my parents, they don't really get mad about this, whatever. They didn't even know what they were hearing at the time. But they had friends that they knew at UT that were involved in research projects. And then they were, and 9 times out of 10, I wrote about research projects in San Francisco. UT has some, MIT has a lot. And stop me anytime you want. But this was in like the 60s. They had virtual reality gloves where you'd put them on and put goggles on, and you'd go into stuff that looked like the holodeck from Star Trek 20 years before it existed. And they were doing surgeries and all this, and they would do empathy loads where they'd say, we need the public because we're so weak, because the West is so strong. People haven't had trauma, so they sold them low level. Oh, we're going to create trauma. Like when you go to Mars, you're not getting any gravity, so your heart is no good when you get there.
Who's organizing all this?
Well, they don't tell you. They go, oh, it's a special class you've been about to. So in the 60s, they had gloves.
So there's a special class of people that are organizing all this shit.
It's the
what?
highest scores.
But is it for what purpose?
Well, you don't know.
Financial gain, social status?
Jack Parsons, was he?
Jet Propulsion Laboratory, al-Askari, Devil Worship. Exactly.
Okay, so wait a minute. So you're saying Jack
Crowley over 100 years ago.
Listen to this. How crazy is this?
The aliens give them a
the founder of JPL, Jack Parsons. Have you heard this before?
No, I just can't believe I did want to have Alex on the podcast.
No, but have you ever heard that?
Let me finish. Let me say this.
No.
I'm not trying to take over, but 2 years ago, but I'm not bullshitting you. Okay, I'm telling you this stuff. I don't believe in this. Okay,
there it is, right there.
This was patented in 1957. It's a VR machine.
Exactly. No, exactly.
That's crazy.
So I've talked to people, not just family. And
gives you wind, vibration, aroma, stereo sound, color, motion, wide vision, and 3D, three-dimensional.
But let me tell you, they wore a mask in the 60s and 70s that was already like you see like paper-thin TV screens. And it was already, I talked to them, they said there's no way this was human technology.
So you've seen these foldable phones?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think aliens have already taken over Samsung and Huawei.
Yeah,
so
they're
shit. Do you think the aliens are taking over Samsung? Do they have something to do with Samsung?
Well, obviously, what I'm telling you is the Pentagon isn't worried about
what is all this, Jamie?
This is the patent.
Wow. And notice that's the weeks of the 60s?
I believe 1957.
So notice that's exactly what that's what my dad told me.
That's what our HTC Vive looks like that we have in the
today. So see, Joe, this is big. My dad didn't tell me this until he saw Endgame, and he said, no, son, we had virtual reality goggles, and we had CD-ROM, and we had things, and then something else happened, and I'm not at liberty to get into it, but I was shown 3 years ago what the University of Washington was doing under Bill Gates. And this is in the 90s.
What were they doing?
They don't even know what they're being given. It's intravenous.
So you think it's some sort of alien intervention type shit?
Dude, they to get even deeper, they turn your heart off for 5 minutes, and they pump oxygen in your blood. And you're in the meetings. I've talked to people that are involved. I mean, top scientists. And you're in the meetings with freaking aliens. Elves is the main group. But they're like,
so by shutting your heart off, it makes you have that psychedelic experience by keeping blood in your oxygen. It keeps you alive?
Well, let's explain.
Okay.
The heart goes out. The body thinks it's dead.
Right.
So you can stay in longer. I don't know all the science behind it.
I understand.
But let's explain this. When you've taken DMT or ayahuasca 200 times, like most of our astronauts and test pilots aren't flying planes. Those are robots now. It's all mind warping. So these dudes are like, it stops working once you've taken it hundreds of times. So then they start taking their most psychic people who are able to do this, and they turn their heart off. And then they put them into these events, and it's like the things that aliens tell them, they come out and they tell scientists, and it works. So,
like what kind of shit?
They didn't tell. Let me tell you, you get killed for this stuff, Joe. This is not. What do you think you want me off for? Isn't that true? Right. We are overpopulated in some ways, though, with our technology. But let me just make this point. Then we got to end this.
Pee so bad.
Well, go pee and come back. We'll finish 5 more minutes because I want to get into the.
Talk to Eddie. Talk some sense into
Oh
it.
my God, here we go. Tell me about Buzz Aldrin. Tell me about your boy Buzz Aldrin.
You know, I'll tell you about Buzz Aldrin. You told me.
I know where you going, man? Okay, it's gonna be Browns. ClevelandBrowns.com. I'm here live. Jamie, I'm doing good. So, what do you think about the wide receiver of the Browns?
But no one archives stuff then, so I go on air and I go, yeah, they just blew up a building. Everybody started freaking out.
But here's the thing.
And then they blew it up.
How long does it take to set up explosives to the point where you can pancake?
It normally takes a week.
A week?
That was the next story. But then I interviewed the head of emergency management for New York.
Yeah.
And the loose change people got him on. And he says, no, I was there. They had bombs. The CIA. You know it was based in Building 7, right? The CIA, the FBI, all of it.
Wasn't it NSA as well?
Everything. See, he always says, oh, I don't know. He goes, I'm not just kissing Joe's ass. Like, he's beyond
Joe
Alex
knows
Jones.
what's up.
No, it's bullshit, man.
No,
I mean, you know every fucking thing, dude. Just fucking say it yourself. No.
Why don't you explain it to everybody?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
You do
Wasn't
a
the
better
NSA
job.
in there, too? It's like,
You do a
yeah,
better
it's
job than
40
me.
fucking stories of fucking government.
Right.
So there's 40...
With a diesel tank and pre-rigged explosives in case shit hits the
Dude,
fan.
I didn't believe... I wasn't
Imagine
sure
that.
then. Even though I heard CBS say they blew it up, and even though... And like the news would go, Jones says firefighters blew it up. Because the government, same thing point you made is a good point. Like I'm saying the government. No, I don't mean my grandpa that was in the army.
If it really did pancake from the fire, what a shit design.
Yeah.
What a terrible design. I'd be so mad at that architect.
Well, those were the debates from Underwriting Laboratories. Because everyone went and looked at the blueprints.
Yeah.
And it is New York. And I'm not defending what you're saying. Because 7 was built well. It was looked at by lawsuits. They were sued. Tower 1 and 2, though, they were built with like bubble gum and like Band-Aids.
Really?
Those buildings were already leaning.
Oh, no.
It was a big mob scam. Yeah,
Oh,
they were.
no.
They already had
fucking leaning?
They already had buckling in the wind.
Oh, no.
And they had mathematicians guess that within like 5 years, one building would collapse.
Oh, fuck. Oh, my God.
So there goes your argument. It's New York. These buildings are built for shit. And that's when as you get older, you go...
Some of them are built for shit, right? For sure, right?
I don't... Yeah. I mean...
Especially back then. What
is inside your bag? You get more tobacco?
No, I do have one.
World Trade Center 7 had always been considered the starting point for rebuilding. Located north of the slurry wall, 7 had been cleared faster than the rest of the site, and there had been no bodies to recover. Pelted by debris when the North Tower collapsed, 7 burned until late afternoon, allowing occupants to evacuate to safety.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, you know, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
Arnold, you're probably the best known builder, particularly of great buildings in the city. There's a great deal of question about whether or not the damage and the ultimate destruction of the buildings was caused by the airplanes, by architectural defect, or possibly by bombs or aftershocks. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, it was an architectural defect. You know, the World Trade Center was always known as a very, very strong building. Don't forget, that took a big bomb in the basement. Now, the basement is the most vulnerable place because that's your foundation. And it withstood that. And I got to see that area about 3 or 4 days after it took place because one of my structural engineers actually took me for a tour because he did the building. And I said, I can't believe it. The building was standing solid and half of the columns were blown out. I mean, so this was an unbelievably powerful building. If you know anything about structure, it was one of the first buildings that was built from the outside. The steel, the reason the World Trade Center had such narrow windows is that in between all the windows you had the steel on the outside. So you had the steel on the outside of the building. That's why when I first looked, and you had big, heavy I-beams, when I first looked at it, I couldn't believe it because there was a hole in the steel. And this is steel that was, you remember the width of the windows in the World Trade Center, folks. I think you know, if you were ever up there, they were quite narrow. And in between was this heavy steel. I said, how could a plane, even a 767 or 747 or whatever it might have been, how could it possibly go through the steel? I happen to think that they had not only a plane, but they had bombs that exploded almost simultaneously, because I just can't imagine anything being able to go through that wall. Most buildings are built with the steel is on the inside around the elevator shaft. This one was built from the outside, which is the strongest structure you can have and it was almost just like a can of soup.
You know, Donald, we were looking at pictures all morning long of that plane coming into building number 2, and when you see that approach the far side, and then all of a sudden, within a matter of a millisecond, the explosion pops out the other side.
Right. I just think that it was a plane with more than just fuel. I think, obviously, they were very big planes. They were going very rapidly, because I was also watching where the plane seemed to be not only going fast, it seemed to be coming down into the building. So it was getting the speed from going downhill, so to speak. It just seemed to me that to do that kind of destruction is even more than a big plane, because you're talking about taking out steel, the heaviest caliber steel that was used on the building. So these buildings were rock solid. And, you know, it's just an amazing thing. This country is different today, and it's going to be different than it ever was for many years to come.
Very profound statement, and very true.
Боже мой! This is amazing! Can we actually create such a thing?
Can and did. I greenlit the project way back. So, about that promotion.
I want to see this bionic berry.
Well, then you better pack a bag.
Look, Mr. Berg, business or pleasure?
Oh, pleasure. Definitely pleasure.